So let's talk about it. The WAC tourney. Just your thoughts on the game and kind of how it went.
Wild, right? Like anybody who saw that game, you talk about an emotional roller coaster. It's like, oh man, we're about to lose. Oh man, we're about to win. Oh man, we lost. You know, it's kind of a weird deal. But it's the way it goes. I mean, that's WAC basketball, right? And that's SFA ACU. Like I said that before we went and played. I mean, every time we play them, something crazy happens. And you know, I wish we could have came out on the better end of it. I really believed, and I still do believe, that we could have gone in there and made a little run in that tournament. We just happened to not have 30 more seconds on the clock, you know, when the game ended. The kid made an unbelievable play. And I'm not really talking about the kid that hit the shot. I'm talking about the kid that defensively got back. A lot of times when a team forces a turnover like we did and they go down there, it's an easy uncontested layup. That kid made an unbelievable defensive play. There was no foul on the play. He made an unbelievable play. And then the fact to have the, you know, to catch it, to throw it up and pitch it ahead with 3.8 seconds or whatever, it felt like 10 minutes. It was like 3 seconds. So disappointed in the outcome, but proud of our guys. You know, just how they handled themselves to finish the season, to go in there and to compete the way they did. You know, and Coach Keller and I both said it. You know, this is not the goal. Stephen F. Austin and Abilene Christian should be playing each other on Saturday, you know, not on Wednesday. And that's our goal moving forward, is to put a team on the floor that's going to be playing on Saturday. And not Wednesday. So proud of our guys, but now it's time to get better.
And you technically aren't done.
Correct.
You got another tournament come up. How good does that feel as a coach to be able to kind of have your seniors, you got your last year guys, be able to play at least one more game together?
Awesome. You know, I think here's the deal. I thought we were done. You know, I knew before Vegas that we were going to have an opportunity to play if we wanted to. But a week or so, I thought if we don't win the conference tournament, we're done. We're sub 500 team, whatever. But the way that these guys finished the season, we actually had tournaments fighting over our participation, which you don't see that happen with 500 basketball teams, right? But I don't think anybody views us as that because of the way that we finished. You count the conference tournament, lost 7 out of 9. We won to finish the year, and so I think people wanted a team with that kind of momentum going to end their tournament. And so we actually had our choice, you know, and so we chose the CIT. And both events in the past have been good to us. They've given us opportunities, but you know, the opportunity to go and the chance to go play not too far from here. We don't have to get on a plane. We don't have to travel. And when we're coming back from Las Vegas for a conference tournament, the last thing you want to do is get on a plane and travel to the other side of the country. And so we get to jump on a bus and go play in Stephenville, and that is awesome. And you know, obviously the respect I have for the Tarleton program, if we were fortunate enough to win a game, but to go play a team like Corpus Christi in opening round, I mean, it's going to be an awesome game. I mean, I think they're really good. They finished second in the Southland, which obviously I love the Southland. I spent 16 years in that league, and it's a really good league, and Corpus is a really good basketball team. This is a team that we scrimmage in the fall before the season because of my relationship with Coach Shaw. You know, what an opportunity to continue to play, to continue to have that opportunity to play in the postseason. It's a reward that these guys definitely deserve, and I hope we go out there and play well.
And with that mix of young or guys coming back and guys leaving, kind of talk about getting the postseason experience for those guys coming back, and then the chance to coach and see those guys play that are going to be leaving after this tournament.
Yeah, you know, everybody has a different philosophy on postseason play. Like, do you do it, do you not, if you're not in the NIT or the NCAA tournament? I'm always for it. I've always been for it, and because of the reasons that we just talked about. That's so your outgoing players get one more kind of game, you know, hopefully 4 more games, but for sure they get 1 more game to go out there and compete and put on the Abilene Christian uniform. But it's also for your younger guys. I'm going to play everybody, and I don't mean that we're going out there trying to win the game, But like our young guys are going to get some heavy minutes on tomorrow night because they need that experience. They're the ones coming back, and they're going to get, they need to experience postseason play, and that's kind of always how we've handled it. That doesn't mean that we're not trying to win the game. We did that 2 years ago when we made a run all the way to the semifinals. So we're going to go out there, we're going to compete, but we're going to play everybody, and we're going to get those guys that experience that they desperately need because we want to use how we finished this year. We want to use this opportunity in postseason play to build some momentum into the offseason for next year.
Coach, how's the Warriors spirit define Abilene Christian basketball this season?
Man, I think that's exactly what it is, right? Like, I think you don't do what we did to finish the year without having that Warrior spirit, man. And it's something we talked about and that you have to have. It goes along with trusting the process and, understanding taking those losses or taking the adversity that we hit. Now, we talked about Warriors, man, are built through adversity, right? And nobody just... You don't see a Warrior that hasn't gone through adversity, that doesn't have cuts and scars on, right? And that Warrior spirit carried us through all that adversity we had in January and allowed us to have all the success that we had in February. And it's ultimately why we have a chance to play in the postseason tomorrow night because if we don't have that, man, these guys would have laid down, and we would have finished. We probably wouldn't even made the conference tournament. And so I think that it's something that defines us. It's something that will continue to define us, and we'll carry that into the off season as well.
And what do you say to your senior Warriors like Arion and of course Manny as well in camp?
Yeah, so we've already kind of had our emotional moments with one another, so I don't think that we'll have that whenever we are done in the CIT. We're handling the CIT like, man, this is a celebration, and so whenever it ends for us, whether it's tomorrow, Wednesday, the next Tuesday, the next Wednesday, we're going to hug it out in celebration. We've had our emotional moments. I've thanked them. We met in Vegas again after the locker room and publicly or within our group. Thanked the seniors, the outgoing players, for everything that they've meant to this program. But you talk about a special group with those guys, with Manny and Cam and Arion. And of course we have some other seniors, but those three guys, they've played in the round of 32 in the NCAA tournament. They've played in the WAC championship game. They've been through every peak and valley that you can go through as a college basketball player. And they truly, it meant something to them to put on Abilene Christian every single night. And that's hard to find nowadays with the portal and NIL and all that stuff, right? Like, these guys finished their career. Arion is like the second all-time leading scorer. Something with rebounding, like third or something like that. Cam Steele, I was just looking at something like in postseason play 2 years ago. He averaged like 17 points a game. Like, you wouldn't think of that with Cam, or 16 something. Like, Manny, he was a leading scorer on this team a year ago, and just those guys have meant a lot, and they're going to continue to mean a lot. These guys aren't disappearing from this program. They're going to be three faces you continue to see show up in the summer. Be around, do Zooms with our guys like we've done with some other former players. But just a special group that we're going to miss dearly. But man, there's not going to be any tears of sadness whenever this thing ends for us in the next couple weeks. It's going to be all celebration, man. We're going to go have a good time. So
this far in the season, what are some other key specific qualities you've noticed that you hope you can bring in the off season, possibly to next season's team?
It's exactly what we've talked about, is that they've seen what trusting the process does. And I don't think with so many, we've talked about it from day one. The first time I came in this room this year, 10 guys with a year or less of experience. And so I don't know if they trusted or believed me when I said, if you just trust the process, it will come your way. But they visually and physically felt it and saw it happen. So now, hopefully going into next year, we don't have to worry about all that, because there is not going to be any. They're all going to trust that, because they've seen it happen. And so, it is what it is, man. I think, and then they've seen themselves get an opportunity to play in the postseason. And I really want to I think it's just leadership. It's understanding. It's experience. And it's the Warrior spirit that we talked about, is just continuing that process. But we're going to need some leaders to step up, because we're losing some pretty good ones. And we're going to need to have a great offseason. We're going to need to add some good pieces to make sure that we're playing on Saturday next year and not on Wednesday. But before we do all that, man, we're going to go have some fun in the CIT.
What things match up well against your CIT first round opponent?
Ask that one more time.
What things match up well against your CIT first round opponent?
What things match up well?
Yes, sir.
So, like, how do we match up against Corpus?
Exactly.
Gotcha. Obviously, we're very similar. Me and Coach Shaw both cut our teeth working for the same guy. And so I think we're the two longest tenured assistants to work for Danny Casper, who's retired now. And so our philosophies are very similar. That's why we scrimmage each other every year. So you're going to see two tough, hard-nosed defensive teams out there. And, it might be a rock fight, it's just like, I think it's going to be very similar to where you see like an SFA game with ACU. I think the Corpus game is going to be very similar to that. You never know going into postseason. Both of us might do something a little bit different just because it's a different, unique environment. But, I hope we can get some fans over there because in an empty gym, man, it could be a pretty ugly game with us in Corpus. But I think it's going to be a back and forth battle. It's just going to be who can make some shots probably and who can get some stops. They were better than us this year at forcing turnovers, which doesn't make me happy. But Corpus was better than us, and so that's going to be part of the battle too. Is can we take care of the basketball and force them into turnovers instead of the opposite?
And then my final question for you, Coach. This sitting position you do when you put your hands over your head and you're like with your cross legs, how did that develop?
So it really started a few years ago. It was just kind of I'm a superstitious guy. I wish I wasn't, man. We stay in the same hotels. I wear the same shirts. If you notice, I was wearing a purple polo the last month. It was because I forgot my black polo when we went to Rio Grande Valley. I had no choice. I had to wear my purple one, and then we won. So I had to wear it again, and we just continued to win. So I went from a black polo to a purple polo, right? It's the same way. A few years ago, man, we were awful shooting free throws. I got mad one time, threw my hands behind my head, and crossed my legs, and our worst free throw shooter on the team made two. I said, you know what, I'm going to do that every time we shoot free throws. And we went from being one of the worst free throw shooting teams in the league to one of the better ones, like within a 3-week period. And so I just continued that, and I'd kind of gone away from it. And then we weren't very good at shooting free throws. So this year I went back to it, and all of a sudden you saw us start shooting free throws. So it has nothing to do with the guys practicing free throws or having more confidence. It has everything to do with me sitting back, putting my hands on my head, and crossing my legs, right? I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's me.
I have one more question.
Go ahead, man.
I don't know. I'm sure you've seen the bracket meet, Reese. Do you have any kind of thoughts about generalizing the bracket? Any matchups you think that are a little bit surprised about, anything like that?
The NCAA tournament?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, man. I enjoy it like everybody else because we're not in it, unfortunately. I become a fan. I have a lot of friends in the bracket that I'm obviously rooting for. But I think, without calling any out specifically, I think I'm always interested in the Texas teams that are in there, the Big 12 teams that are in there. That's kind of our region. And, of course, the Grand Canyon matchup I think is a pretty interesting one. I think Grand Canyon has a chance. I've been in that situation. I've been fortunate to play in this tournament a handful of times, and it's all about matchups. And St. Mary's is a really good basketball team, but so is Grand Canyon. And the WAC is a really good league, just like the West Coast Conference. And I don't know if it gets quite the respect it deserves, the WAC. So I don't know what the outcome's going to be, but I would be shocked if Grand Canyon does not have a chance to win that game.